Factsverse presents Photos from History Books That Are Actually Chilling to See. They say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. When you read history books in school, there are often photos included. There are some photos that are so strange, beautiful, or even disturbing you won't see them in history books. Here are a few photos from history books that are actually chilling to see. Before we get into our video, though, help us spread the word about Factsverse by clicking that like button. Also be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. Flight attendants in the 1960s look a lot different than they look today. They were beautiful, young, bubbly, smart, and single. They wore stylish outfits and were able to travel the world, which is why many people considered the job to be glamorous. Back then, air travel was not as popular as it is today. Only wealthy people could fly. Because of that, the flight attendants had to look glamorous. Back then, the age of retirement for flight attendants was 35 years old. This British soldier was in the Color Parade in 1970. When Queen Elizabeth and her guards passed by, he passed out. Maybe he was nervous when he saw the Queen, or perhaps he was just too hot in his red coat uniform. The Queen was not in the photo, but it did become one of the most memorable images from the Color Parade. The Hindenburg was a German passenger airship filled with hydrogen. On May 6, 1937, it was attempting to dock at Naval Air Station Lakehurst, and it caught fire. There were 97 people on board, and it killed 36 people instantly. It's also known as one of the most well-known aerial disasters of the 20th century. Incredibly, the whole thing was caught on film, and the photos are absolutely devastating. Photographer Francisco Van Camp took this photo in the late 19th century. It's a photo of a beautiful, mysterious woman wearing traditional garments. Very little is known about her other than the fact that she was a mestiza de sangle woman, which originates from the Spanish Philippines. The photographer took the photo in his studio in 1875, but he never got her name. Today, she's simply known as the Mona Lisa of the Pacific Islands. In this photo, Brigitte Lindman, a Swedish airline stewardess with the SAS airline, is taking a closer look at the length of a showgirl's outfit. There were rumors that the airlines were going to have their stewardesses wear shorter skirts in 1959. Considering how cold it gets on planes, especially in Sweden, the stewardesses were not looking forward to that change. This is not something you would see in an airport today, of course. Olive Ann Oatman was born in Illinois in 1837. When she was 14 years old, she and her sister were kidnapped by either the Okapayas or the Western Yavapai Native American tribes, and the rest of her family was killed. The Mojave chief and his family adopted the two girls, and they were both given traditional chin tattoos. 5 years after her abduction, there were rumors of a white girl living with the Mojave tribe. When word reached her village, they traded her for several blankets and horses. Sadly, her sister Marianne died of hunger before she was released. Several books, plays, and films were written about her life. She died of a heart attack in 1903. Actress Jamie Lee Curtis is not just Hollywood's scream queen. Long after she starred in the film Halloween, she starred with Joan Travolta in a movie called Perfect. The 1985 film had Jamie Lee playing an aerobics instructor who falls in love with a reporter who's writing an unflattering article about health clubs. The premise sounds strange, but it was a hit. It also turned Jamie Lee into a fitness icon. Joan Trump Mulholland was a young freedom fighter who gave up her education, family, and her life to contribute to the causes she believed in. She was born in Mulholland in 1941 and participated in sit-ins and demonstrations for civil rights and integration. She was known as a young freedom fighter. Her participation in these events landed her in prison more than once. She even spent 2 months on death row before finally being released. In 1980, the first ever electronic gaming competition was held. Over 10,000 people participated, and they played the Space Invaders video game. The game was created in 1978, and by the year 1980, the game had gone viral. This is a photo of many of the competitors trying to win the title of the best Space Invaders players in the world. It was the very first video game competition ever, and many more followed over the years and continue today, more popular than ever. This photo of James Dean was taken at a gas station in 1955. It was taken only hours before his fatal accident in his car, Little Bastard, that was said to be cursed. This was the last photo ever to be taken of James Dean. He was a heartthrob, a great actor, and he loved racing cars. Sadly, his love for fast cars is what resulted in his demise. The photo on the left is of the former President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. It was taken before the Civil War. The picture on the right is the former president after the Civil War. He was 52 years old when elected. The photo on the right was taken at the end of his term. The war must have taken an enormous toll on him because he looks so much older in the photo on the right than he did in the picture on the left. This photo was taken in 1953, just 16 milliseconds after the first nuclear detonation in history. It was taken at a nuclear test site in Nevada, and the mushroom cloud in the photo is very eerie. For many years, segregation was the law in the United States. When it was deemed unconstitutional, people were free to go wherever they pleased. When Dorothy Counts heard the news, she became the first black person to attend Harding High School in Charlotte, North Carolina, which was previously an all-white school. She had to drop out after just 4 days after being insulted and intimidated constantly by her classmates. This photo shows her being followed and bullied by a crowd of students. Babe Ruth has gone down in history as one of the greatest baseball players of all time. In this photo, he's seen hitting his 700th home run on Friday the 13th in 1934. The photo was taken when he set the record. The record was broken by Hank Aaron, who hit 755 on August 7, 2007. Today, Barry Bonds holds the record with 762 home runs. This is a photo of the tallest man in history, Robert Wadlow. His height of 8 feet 11 inches earned him the nicknames the Alton Giant and the Giant of Illinois because he was born in Alton, Illinois. This is a photo of Robert sitting beside an average-sized man who looks like a child compared to Robert. He lived from 1918 to 1940, and he is still the tallest man on record. Martin Luther King Jr. was heavy into the civil rights movement. He wanted equality for all people of all races, and that rubbed hate groups the wrong way, and the KKK put a burning cross in front of his house. This photo was taken in April of 1960, and King is seen removing the cross in a calm and relaxed manner. It shows you how wonderful that man truly was. French actress Brigitte Bardot was one of the most famous women in the 1950s and 60s. She starred in many popular films including And God Created Woman, Contempt, and A Very Private Affair. Here's a photo of the actress lounging on a beach in Cannes. She started as a ballerina and model, which eventually led her to the big screen at the age of 18. It wasn't long after that she became one of the most recognizable faces in film. This was a very popular photo in the 1950s. The man in the picture is a prisoner. He was being used to test safety nets to make sure that they worked properly before they were mass-produced. Since this could have had deadly results, it's something you would not see in prisons today. Since the 1950s, prisoners' rights have been taken seriously, and something dangerous like this would be illegal. This photo was taken in the 1870s. It's a massive pile of bison skulls. The men in the picture were preparing to ground them down for fertilizer. There are hundreds of thousands of skulls in this pile, and fortunately we have found new and less gruesome ways to make fertilizer. This is a bizarre photo. We've heard of horse-drawn carriages, but not hippo-drawn carriages. Makes you wonder how this man got the hippo to cooperate, because hippos are known to be one of the deadliest animals on Earth. This photo was taken in 1994, and Bill Gates is trying to prove a pretty incredible point. In the photo, he's showing how much data can be stored on a single CD-ROM. The picture's worth 1,000 words, and it is a fantastic advertising campaign. Pennhurst Asylum was a mental institution in Pennsylvania. Mentally ill and criminally insane patients were brought here in the 20th century, and it has since been abandoned. There are plenty of abandoned places just like this all across the United States. Many are said to be haunted. There are no ghosts in this photo, just an old abandoned room. This photo was taken in 1913 after the American Civil War during the Gettysburg Reunion. This reunion took place after the Gettysburg Address in the battle. In this photo, the war is over, and veterans from the Union and Confederate armies are seen shaking hands. Over 50,000 veterans took part in the event, making it the largest American convention for veterans in U.S. history. This photo was taken during the Prohibition era in 1927. This enormous tower was created with confiscated liquor barrels that were set to be burned by the government. Such a waste of good alcohol. In the areas where barrels of alcohol were not being burned, people were protesting Prohibition. Alcohol was banned in the U.S. from 1920 to 1933 as part of the 28th Amendment. Americans were against the ban, and protests were taking place all over the country. This photo of the protest was taken in 1932. A year later, the ban was lifted and the Constitution was changed. Ham the Chimp was the first humanoid to be launched into space. If it weren't for Ham, we would not have a modern space program. Here's a photo of the chimp after returning to Earth. During World War II, British officials were worried that Nazi Germany would poison the population with toxic gas. This mother in London was doing what everybody was told to do. She put a gas mask on herself and her baby before going out for a walk. It's a sad photo of a terrifying time. Despite popular belief, it was not Kim Kardashian or Paris Hilton who invented the selfie. This photo was taken in 1839. It is the oldest selfie in history. The photo is proof that Robert Cornelius, an amateur photographer, chemist, and lamp manufacturer, invented the selfie. This last photo on our list was taken on August 22, 1969. It's also the last photo ever taken of the Beatles when they were still a group. They broke up in April 1970 when Paul McCartney announced that he was leaving the group. Subscribe for more.